was a time when the radio in your kitchen, your car, or your porch was the only place these songs lived. Not on television, not in movies. Just AM radio, a dial, a little static, and a song that felt like it was playing just for you. Tonight we're bringing back 20 of them, songs that once filled every kitchen in America, and then quietly disappeared. Some you'll remember the second you hear them. Some you forgot you ever knew. Let's turn the dial back. This is 20 songs only, AM radio played. Number 20, Party Doll by Buddy Knox, 1957.
All I want is a party doll. Come along with me when I'm feeling wild.
We start with a song that sounds like it was recorded in someone's garage, because it practically was. Buddy Knox and his band cut this one in a converted studio in Texas, with a cardboard box standing in for a drum kit because they didn't have the money for real percussion equipment. Nobody expected much from it. It was raw, it was simple, and it didn't sound like anything else being played on the radio that year. But AM stations picked it up anyway, and by the spring of 1957, it had climbed all the way to number 1. Buddy Knox never had another hit that came close. He spent the rest of his career playing smaller shows, always introduced as the Party Doll Guy. A whole career distilled into 2 minutes and 10 seconds that AM radio couldn't get enough of for one bright season. It's worth pausing on that fact for a second. A cardboard box for a drum kit, no real studio budget, and it still beat out the polished, professionally produced records of 1957.
Party doll. Come along and be my party doll.
That's the story of AM radio in a nutshell. It never cared how a record was made, only how it sounded coming out of a car speaker at a stoplight. Coming up at number 19, a love song so sweet, the songwriter said he wrote it in 10 minutes flat.
Feeling wild to be ever loving, true and fair, to run her finger.
Number 19, A Rose and a Baby Ruth by George Hamilton IV, 1956.
I can't call you on the phone.
Some songs are built on heartbreak. This one was built on a candy bar. George Hamilton IV was a college freshman when he recorded this. A gentle, almost shy little song about a boy sending his girl a rose and a Baby Ruth candy bar because that's all his allowance could buy. It's not dramatic. It's not flashy. It's just honest. And that honesty is exactly what AM radio audiences responded to.
So I'm sending you this present.
The song went all the way to number 6 on the national charts. And for a while, the Baby Ruth song was something you'd hear on nearly every AM station in the country. George Hamilton IV would go on to a long career in country music, but this early, tender little hit never quite got the spotlight it deserved again. It's easy to forget just how many of AM radio's biggest hits weren't written by seasoned professionals at all, but by kids barely older than the audience listening.
Yes, I know how to please.
That's part of why this song still lands the way it does. There's no cynicism in it, just a teenager's idea of romance set to music. Next, a song about a door that everybody wanted to walk through, but almost nobody knew what was on the other side.
Dare I believe you won't let
Number 18, The Green Door by Jim Lowe, 1956.
Midnight, one more night without sleeping.
This one is a mystery wrapped in a melody. The lyrics describe a man standing outside a party he's not invited to, listening to laughter and piano music behind a green door he can't open. Nobody, not even Jim Lowe himself, ever fully explained what the green door was supposed to represent. Some listeners thought it was about an exclusive club. Others thought it was something stranger. That mystery is exactly what made AM radio DJs love spinning it. It gave them something to talk about between songs.
Don't know what they're doing, but they laugh a lot behind the green door.
It spent 3 weeks at number 1 in the fall of 1956. And then, like a party that ends and the lights go out, it faded from the airwaves almost as quickly as it arrived. DJs of the era would sometimes invite listeners to call in and guess what was behind that door, turning a 3-minute song into a running conversation across an entire town.
Green door, what's that secret you're keeping?
Try to imagine that happening with a song today. an entire community, speculating together over one unanswered mystery. At number 17, the song that gave a small-town singer the closest thing he ever had to a guardian angel.
The morning comes creeping.
Number 17, My Special Angel by Bobby Helms, 1957. Bobby Helms had already had one big hit that year with a Christmas song everybody still knows. But this one, a soft, sincere love song, was the one that actually meant the most to him personally. He wrote it thinking about his own wife. AM radio embraced it warmly. It became a #1 hit on multiple charts at once, crossing over from country stations to pop stations in a way that wasn't common at the time.
The Lord smiled down on me.
For a few months, you genuinely couldn't escape it. But musical tastes moved fast in the late 50s. Within a couple of years, My Special Angel had quietly slipped off the airwaves, overshadowed by louder, faster records. Even though, in its own soft-spoken way, it had once been just as big as any of them. There's something fitting about a song this sincere, getting overshadowed by louder records. AM radio in the late 50s was starting to speed up, chasing the next big rock and roll sound, and a quiet love song written for someone's actual wife just couldn't keep pace, no matter how good it was. Coming up next, a birthday song that became one of the most sampled melodies in music history, decades before anyone knew what sampling even was.
The tears from your eyes bring the rain.
Number 16, 16 Candles by the Crests, 1958.
Happy birthday, baby. Oh.
Long before there was a movie by this name, there was this song, a doo-wop group from New York City, one of the first racially integrated vocal groups to have a major hit, singing about a birthday wish made over 16 candles. The Crests recorded it in a rented studio with almost no budget, and even they were surprised when AM stations started playing it in heavy rotation. It became one of the defining doo-wop ballads of the era, sung on street corners and school dances across the country. The song's gentle three-part harmony would go on to influence generations of vocal groups, but the Crests themselves never had another hit that reached the same height.
16 candles.
Their 16 candles burned bright, just once. Decades later, when a filmmaker needed a title for a coming-of-age movie about a birthday nobody remembers, she borrowed this song's name without borrowing its melody.
That you love me too.
Proof that even when a song disappears from the radio, its title can outlive the record itself. At 15, a song about a boat trip that never actually happened, and a singer whose career was cut short before the song even finished climbing the charts.
Happy birthday, make your wish come true.
Number 15, Sea Cruise by Frankie Ford, 1959.
Won't you let me take you on a sea cruise?
Here's a secret AM radio never told you. The wild sound effects on this record, the ship horns, the seagulls, were added by the songwriter himself, a New Orleans piano player named Huey Piano Smith, whose band actually played the instrumental track underneath Frankie Ford's vocal. Ford was young, energetic, and had a voice built for AM radio's tinny little speakers. It cut right through. Sea Cruise became a massive regional hit out of New Orleans before spreading nationally, riding right alongside the birth of rock and roll itself. Ford spent years afterward performing this song at Oldies reviews, always introduced as the voice of Sea Cruise.
Won't you let me take you on a sea cruise? Ooh-wee.
Proof that sometimes a 2-minute record can follow you for an entire lifetime, even after AM radio itself faded away. New Orleans in the late 50s was producing some of the most inventive, playful records in the country, and this one captured that spirit perfectly, sound effects and all. It's easy to imagine why AM listeners, hearing those ship horns crackle through a car radio, thought they'd tuned into something happening live. Next up, a song so heartbreakingly sad that some AM stations actually refused to play it.
I don't like begging, but now I'm on bended knee.
Number 14, Since I Don't Have You by the Skyliners, 1959.
I don't have plans at sea.
This is one of the most beautifully sad songs to ever come out of Pittsburgh. a sweeping, string-drenched ballad about love and loss that was genuinely ahead of its time in production. The Skyliners were a young vocal group with almost no professional experience when they recorded it, but the emotion in the lead vocal was so raw and real that AM programmers couldn't ignore it. It became one of the era's defining torch songs, and its melody would later be echoed and referenced by artists for decades. But like so many groups of that era, the Skyliners saw their fame rise and fall within a couple of years. Since I Don't Have You remains the song most people don't realize they already know, until the first few notes bring the whole memory back. Listen closely to that string arrangement, and you can hear the blueprint for an entire generation of heartbreak ballads that came after it. The Skyliners may not have stayed famous, but the sound they helped popularize never really left the airwaves. It just kept showing up in other people's songs. At number 13, a song about a runaway girl that became an unlikely summer anthem. Number 13, Party Lights by Claudine Clark, 1962. Claudine Clark was a songwriter first. She'd written for other artists before anyone thought to put her in front of the microphone herself. This song, about a girl watching a party through her window that she isn't allowed to attend, came from a very real, very personal frustration. AM radio loved its urgency, the pleading vocal, the driving beat, and it shot into the top 10 in the summer of 1962. For a few months, Claudine Clark was everywhere, but the music industry of that era wasn't kind to artists without a big label machine behind them, and Clark's career never fully capitalized on the hit. She eventually stepped back from performing altogether, leaving Party Lights behind as the one bright, urgent moment AM radio gave her. It's a small tragedy of the music business that a songwriter this talented, capable of writing for herself and for others, didn't get the sustained career her voice deserved. Party Lights remains the clearest evidence of what AM radio audiences were missing out on for the rest of the decade. Coming up, a duet between two singers who weren't even a real couple, but convinced an entire country they were. 12. Hey Paula by Paul and Paula, 1963. Here's a twist. Paul and Paula weren't actually a couple. They weren't even really named Paul and Paula. They were two solo singers, Ray Hildebrand and Jill Jackson, who recorded a duet almost as an afterthought, and the label repackaged them as a pair of sweethearts to match the song. The public bought it completely. Hey Paula spent 3 weeks at number 1, and AM stations across the country ran it constantly, often introducing the duo as a real high school couple. Fans wrote letters asking about their wedding plans. The real Paul and Paula toured together for a few years, playing the roles the record label had invented for them. Before eventually going their separate ways, quietly retiring a fictional romance that AM radio had made feel completely real. What's remarkable, listening back now, is how completely the illusion worked. An entire generation of AM radio listeners fell for a marketing decision so simple it's almost funny in hindsight. And yet the song itself, stripped of the story around it, still holds up as a genuinely sweet piece of songwriting. At number 11, a song about a small-town candy shop that became one of the biggest hits of the year, almost by accident. Number 11, Sugar Shack by Jimmy Gilmer and the Fireballs, 1963.
Oh, there's a crazy little shack beyond the track.
The Fireballs had been a working instrumental band for years before Jimmy Gilmer joined, and this song became their breakthrough. It was recorded almost casually, with a distinctive keyboard-like instrument called a Dominator organ, giving it a sound unlike anything else on the radio. Nobody predicted Sugar Shack would be the single biggest selling song of the entire year in America.
Make that girl love me when I put on some trash. You can understand.
Bigger than any of the more famous acts of 1963. But AM radio embraced its easy, shuffling groove, and it spent 5 weeks at number 1. Despite that enormous success, the Fireballs never repeated it. Jimmy Gilmer eventually left music entirely, and Sugar Shack became one of those strange cases, the best-selling song of an entire year, largely forgotten within a decade. Think about that for a moment. The single best-selling song of an entire calendar year, and most people today couldn't hum 4 bars of it. That's the strange arithmetic of AM radio. Massive popularity in the moment didn't always translate into lasting fame. Halfway through our countdown, a song built entirely around one girl's name and a group that never had another hit again.
Just me and her, yes, we're gonna go back to that.
Number 10, Denise, by Randy and the Rainbows, 1963. We're halfway through the countdown now. This one is pure New York City doo-wop. 5 teenagers from Queens, singing about a girl one of them actually knew from the neighborhood. Denise climbed into the national top 10 almost entirely on the strength of AM radio's love for tight vocal harmony and a hook you couldn't shake. It became a defining song of the era's doo-wop revival, later covered by other artists who recognized just how perfect that central hook really was. Randy and the Rainbows, though, were a classic one-and-done story. The 5 members went back to ordinary lives not long after. Construction, teaching, the postal service, with Denise as the one glowing moment when the entire country knew their voices. If the melody sounds oddly familiar even if you don't know the title, that's because a rock band would borrow its central riff for their own hit, more than a decade later, introducing an entirely new generation to a tune they didn't realize was already older than they were. At number 9, a song about a promise made with a kiss, written by a teenager who wasn't even old enough to date yet.
I've got a crush on you, Denise. I'm so in love.
Number 9, Sealed with a Kiss, by Brian Hyland, 1962.
Though we gotta say goodbye for the summer.
This is a song about waiting, written for young couples separated over a summer, promising to write letters sealed with a kiss until they could be together again. It's simple, sincere, and exactly the kind of song AM radio built its reputation on. Brian Hyland had already had a novelty hit a couple of years earlier about a polka dot bikini, and this song proved he had real staying power beyond the gimmick.
Darling, I promise you this, I'll send you all.
Sealed with a Kiss became a top 5 hit and a genuine summer standard, replayed every June and July for years on AM stations, chasing that same seasonal nostalgia. Hyland kept recording for years afterward, but this tender little promise of a song remains the one that AM listeners of a certain age can still recite word for word, whether they realize it or not.
Yes, it's gonna be a cold, lonely.
There's a reason certain radio programmers still reach for this one every summer, decades after its chart run ended. Some songs aren't tied to a single year so much as they're tied to a season, and this one belongs to every summer that ever asked 2 people to wait. Coming up next, a song so smooth it helped define an entire vocal group's sound, even though it wasn't written for them at all.
Sealed with a kiss.
Number 8, Some Kind of Wonderful, by The Drifters, 1961.
All you have to do is touch my hand.
The Drifters went through more lineup changes than almost any group of their era. Different lead singers, different eras, different sounds, all under one name. This particular version, with Rudy Lewis on lead vocal, gave the group one of its smoothest, most soulful hits. AM radio loved the Drifters because they bridged doo-wop and the emerging soul sound perfectly. Sophisticated enough for adult listeners, catchy enough for teenagers, Some Kind of Wonderful became a modest hit in its time, overshadowed by some of the group's even bigger songs.
I just have to look at you and something.
Rudy Lewis, the voice on this recording, would tragically pass away just a few years later, and much of his work, including this song, quietly slipped out of rotation, remembered mostly by devoted doo-wop and soul collectors, rather than the general public. The Drifters' revolving lineup means that even devoted fans sometimes can't say for certain which voice they're hearing on which record. But Rudy Lewis's voice on this one has a warmth that's hard to mistake once you know to listen for it. At number 7, a song about falling rain that was almost never released at all.
And everything seems to be.
Number 7, Rhythm of the Rain by the Cascades, 1962.
Listen to the
The sound of rain falling on the opening of this record wasn't a studio trick. It was recorded live, and the producer nearly cut it because he thought it made the song sound unfinished. He kept it anyway, almost as an afterthought. That decision made the record. AM stations, especially on rainy days, leaned into that opening sound effect, and Rhythm of the Rain became an enormous hit, climbing to number 3 nationally and becoming one of the defining wall of sound style ballads of the early 60s. The Cascades never again reached that same height.
The only girl I care about has gone away. Louder.
But for decades afterward, the moment it started raining outside was, for a lot of listeners, the moment this song would start playing in their heads, whether the radio was on or not. It's a small, strange kind of immortality. A song that doesn't need the radio at all anymore, because the weather itself will bring it back to mind. Rain after rain, long after the record stopped getting airplay. Next, a German folk melody that an American college student turned into a chart-topping hit, almost by accident.
And let me be alone again. Everybody.
Number 6, Wooden Heart by Joe Dowell, 1961.
And if you say goodbye, then I know that I would.
This song has a strange path to the radio. It started as a German folk tune, was reworked for an Elvis Presley film, and then Joe Dowell, a college student with almost no music industry connections, recorded his own version practically overnight to beat the competition to American radio stations.
'Cause I don't have a wooden heart.
His gamble worked. Dowell's version became the version AM radio embraced in the United States, hitting number 1 on the charts, even though Elvis's own version was never released as a single stateside at the time. Joe Dowell went on to finish his college degree and eventually left the music business almost entirely, one of the rare artists who had a number 1 hit and then simply walked away, leaving Wooden Heart as a strange footnote that AM radio turned into a sensation. It's a strange kind of victory, an American college student's overnight recording outcompeting the king of rock and roll on the American charts. AM radio didn't care about pedigree. It cared about whichever version reached the studio first. We're closing in on the top 5 now. At number 5, a song about soap bubbles and heartbreak that almost nobody remembers by name, but everybody remembers by melody.
There's no strings upon this love.
Number 5, A Little Bit of Soap by the Jarmels, 1961.
A little bit of soap will never wash away my tears.
We've reached the top 5. This one uses one of the strangest, most memorable metaphors in all of doo-wop. Heartbreak compared to trying to wash away a stain with just a little bit of soap. Not enough to get the job done. The Jarmels were a 5-man vocal group who leaned hard into rich, layered harmony, and AM radio's DJs loved how the song built. Soft verses giving way to a soaring, desperate chorus. It became a top 12 national hit and a doo-wop staple. Despite the song's staying power in oldies rotation for years afterward, the Jarmels themselves faded from the spotlight almost immediately. Another vocal group whose voices became more famous than their names ever did. That central metaphor, heartbreak as a stain too stubborn for a little bit of soap, is the kind of songwriting detail that made doo-wop feel like poetry set to a beat, even when the singers themselves were barely out of their teens. At number 4, a heartbreaking true story turned into a song so sad, it became one of the first records ever banned from some radio playlists. Number 4, Tell Laura I Love Her by Ray Peterson, 1960.
Tell Laura I love her.
This is one of the first great teenage tragedy songs, a genre of dramatic, story-driven ballads that briefly dominated AM radio in the early 60s. It tells the story of a boy who enters a car race to win prize money for his girlfriend's ring and dies in the crash. The song was considered so dark for its time that some radio stations in Britain refused to play it at all.
He saw a sign for a stock car race.
In America, though, AM stations embraced the drama completely, and it shot to number 7 on the charts, becoming one of Ray Peterson's signature hits. Ray Peterson had a strong, technically gifted voice, classically trained even, but this melodramatic teenage tragedy became the song most people remembered him for, more than the ballads that actually showed off his real range.
$1,000 prize, it read.
Teenage tragedy songs like this one didn't last long as a genre. Audiences eventually moved on to lighter material, but for a brief moment in the early 60s, AM radio was willing to sit with genuine sadness, 3 minutes at a time. At number 3, a haunting, almost otherworldly love song, recorded in a living room because the singer couldn't afford real studio time.
Who passed away? It was just for Laura.
Number 3, Angel Baby, by Rosie and the Originals, 1960. This is one of the most quietly beautiful recordings on our entire list, and one of the most unlikely. Rosie Hamlin was just 15 years old when she wrote it, and the group recorded it in someone's living room because they had no access to a real studio. The imperfections stayed in the final recording. A slightly out-of-tune saxophone solo, a rawness you'd never hear on a polished major label record. And somehow, that's exactly what gave it its haunting, dreamlike quality. AM radio picked it up anyway, and it became a national hit despite its homemade origins. Rosie Hamlin fought for years afterward over songwriting credit and royalties on a song she wrote as a teenager. A battle that outlasted the song's time on the airwaves by decades, even as Angel Baby quietly became one of the most beloved recordings of its era. It's worth sitting with the fact that a 15-year-old girl, recording in a living room with whatever equipment was on hand, created a sound so distinctive that professional studios with far bigger budgets never quite managed to replicate it. We're almost there. At number 2, a song about a runaway lover, sung by two voices that sounded like they'd known each other forever, even though they'd barely met. Number 2, Half Heaven, Half Heartache, by Gene Pitney, 1962.
My arms reach out for you.
Gene Pitney had one of the most powerful, dramatic voices of his generation, a voice built for sweeping, emotional ballads. This song, about the impossible mix of joy and pain in a difficult relationship, showcased exactly that kind of vocal drama. AM radio loved Pitney's theatrical delivery. It stood out from the smoother, gentler pop vocals around it. Half Heaven, Half Heartache climbed into the top 20 and became a favorite on stations that wanted something with a little more emotional weight in the rotation. Pitney would go on to have a long, successful career writing and performing for decades, but this particular song, caught between two much bigger hits in his catalog, gradually slipped out of rotation.
Why must it be?
Remembered today mostly by devoted collectors of the era's great vocal performances. Pitney's catalog is so deep with genuine hits that a song this good could get lost in the shuffle of his own discography, overshadowed not by another artist, but simply by the sheer number of great songs he happened to record. And now, number 1, the song that AM radio played more than almost any other on this list, and the one most people, once they hear it, will swear they haven't thought about in 50 years.
Hold you tenderly, but when you
Number 1, Sea of Love, by Phil Phillips, 1959.
Come with me, my love.
Here it is, our number 1. Phil Phillips wasn't even a full-time musician when he recorded this. He worked as a hotel bellhop in Louisiana, singing on the side, when a small local label gave him a chance to record this simple, swaying love song. Nobody involved expected much. The recording was raw, almost hypnotic in its simplicity, just Phillips's warm, pleading voice over a slow, rolling rhythm.
I want to tell you how much I love.
But AM radio stations across the South started playing it. Then stations further north picked it up, and by the spring of 1959, Sea of Love had become a number 2 national hit. Phil Phillips never had another hit that came close, and he eventually returned to a quieter life outside the music industry. But the song itself refused to disappear completely, resurfacing again and again over the decades in films and covers, even as most people forgot exactly where that melody first came from.
Come with me.
One bellhop, one small studio, and an AM radio dial that decided the whole country needed to hear it. That's what this whole countdown has really been about. Not the songs that stayed famous, but the ones that quietly did their job, filled a summer, meant something to somebody, and then let go. AM radio never asked them to last forever. It just asked them to matter for a little while. And for 20 songs today, they did. Which one hit you the hardest? We read every one. And if you want more of these forgotten songs brought back to life, hit subscribe. We bring back a new batch every week.